Long ago, deep in the ancient kingdom of Everdeep, lay a forest unlike any other, a forest where night had mysteriously vanished. The trees stood tall, but they never cast shadows. The rivers sparkled, but no stars ever shimmered above them. Creatures slept with their eyes half open, confused and restless, for without darkness, nothing ever truly rested. In a tiny wooden cottage at the edge of the forest lived a young girl named Selene. Her hair was soft silver, her eyes a gentle dusk blue, and though she did not know it yet, her destiny was tied to the heart of the night itself. Selene had always felt a strange ache inside her chest at sunset, as though something was missing, as though she had been born incomplete. One evening, as the world glowed in endless daylight, Selene wandered into the forest, hoping to find what her heart had been searching for. There, beneath a quiet willow tree, she found something that should not exist. A single black feather, glowing with dim starlight. As her fingers touched it, the feather whispered a name. Nyx. And the world around her shivered. The trees rustled in fear. Birds hid their heads beneath their wings. The river darkened for one heartbeat, then returned to pale light. Selene clutched the feather, unsure why the name echoed so deeply in her bones. Suddenly, a soft humming rose behind her, ancient and trembling. An old storyteller, cloaked in moss and twilight, stepped from the trees. "You should not hold that feather, child," he warned softly. Selene looked up, trembling but unyielding. "Why? Whose feather is this?" The old man stared at her with sorrowful eyes. "It belongs to Nyx, the heart of the night, who vanished long ago." Lightning rolled through the cloudless sky. The feather burned colder in her hand. And the story truly began. The old storyteller lowered himself onto a fallen log, his bones creaking like winter branches. Selene stood before him, clutching the black, star-glowing feather as if it were the only thing tethering her to the world. "Tell me," she whispered, "what happened to Nyx?" The old man closed his eyes, and the forest wind hushed itself to hear. "Long ago," he began, "night was not just a time, it was a being, a guardian, a presence, a woman of shadows and starlight, known as Nyx. She walked across the world each evening, cupping the night sky in her palms, letting it spill gently across the earth so children could sleep and dreams could be born." Selene felt a strange warmth inside her chest, as though the story had been waiting for her, as though she had heard it in another life. "But," the old man continued, "Nyx had an enemy, a creature born of brightness, hungry for dominion." He looked directly into Selene's dusk-blue eyes. "His name was Solmar, the devourer of darkness." Selene swallowed hard. Why would he take her? "To rule," the storyteller said bitterly. "For without night, day has no opposition, no boundary, no limit. Solmar wanted endless light, a world where shadows never speak and the truth of things cannot hide or heal." The forest around them dimmed slightly, as if the trees themselves mourned. Selene looked down at the feather. It pulsed gently, like a faint heartbeat. "But why did I find this, and why did it call my name?" The old man hesitated, as though choosing between truth and fear. "Because, child," the old man whispered, "Nyx did not vanish alone. Before she was taken, she tore a single feather from her wings and whispered a prophecy into it, a prophecy about the one who would find it." Selene's voice trembled. "And what did she say?" The old man leaned closer, his breath cold as moonless air. "She said the feather would seek the child born under the last night ever seen and lead her to free the heart of the night." Selene's pulse quickened. "I was born on a night," she murmured slowly. "Or at least that's what my mother always told me, the last night before the darkness disappeared." The old man nodded. "That makes you the one, Selene." Silence fell, heavy, ancient, inevitable. Then the feather rose from her hands, floating slightly, spinning gently, as if awakened. A path opened behind her, the trees bending back in a sweeping arch, lit not by sunlight, but by a faint shimmer of shadow. The first darkness the world had seen in years. Selene stepped back in awe. The old man spoke once more, voice trembling. "Follow the feather, child. Nyx awaits you. The night awaits you." The feather drifted down the path of shadows, and Selene, breath shaking but heart steady, stepped after it, into the forest that had finally remembered darkness. The shadow path curled before Selene like an ink ribbon laid across the forest floor. The feather floated ahead, sometimes drifting like a lazy firefly, sometimes darting forward as if tugged by a force older than memory. The deeper Selene walked, the quieter the world became. No birds, no insects, not even the whisper of leaves. Only a hush so profound it felt like stepping into the moment before a story begins. Selene's heartbeat became the loudest sound in existence. Thump, thump, thump. It echoed off the trees like distant drumming in a cavern of night. The old man's words replayed in her mind. "The child born under the last night, the one chosen to free the heart of the night." Selene touched her chest suddenly, as if expecting to feel something glowing beneath her ribs. But it was only her heartbeat, fast, frightened, but steady. A reminder she was still here, still human, still chosen. Ahead, the feather descended gently, hovering over a pool of dark water still as polished obsidian. Selene approached slowly. The surface reflected her face, pale with moonlight that didn't exist, eyes wide and uncertain. Then the water rippled, not from wind, not from her touch, but from something rising beneath it. A shadowy figure coalesced in the reflection, tall, thin, featureless, with eyes like dim stars. Selene froze. Her own voice whispered back at her through the reflection, but deeper, older, threaded with echoes. "Child of the last night." Selene stepped back, breath catching. "Do not fear," the voice continued softly. "I am not your enemy." The shadow in the water tilted its head. "I am a keeper of Nyx, one of the last remnants of her living darkness." Selene swallowed. Why are you here?" "To guide you." The pool darkened, expanding outward until the water swallowed the ground, spreading a circle of black glass around her. Images shimmered across its surface. Nyx walking across a star-strewn sky, Solmar tearing light across the horizon, Nyx's wings being chained in blinding radiance, the world losing its darkness, Selene's mother holding a newborn as the stars flickered for the last time. Selene's breath trembled. "Why me?" she whispered. The shadow lifted one long, delicate hand. The feather drifted into its grasp. "Because you were born carrying what Nyx left behind." Selene blinked. Carrying what? The shadow leaned close. A spark of her night. Something cold and warm at once glowed faintly beneath Selene's sternum, like a heartbeat made of starlight. She gasped. The reflection darkened again, and the keeper's voice sank low. "But be warned, Selene. Light without balance becomes hunger, and Solmar hunts anything that remembers the night." A gust of unnatural wind swept through the trees, a warm, bright wind wrong in every way. The shadow vanished instantly. The feather shot upward, trembling violently. Selene felt it before she saw it, a piercing brightness far in the sky, growing, descending, searching. Solmar's gaze. He had felt her awakening. The keeper's final whisper echoed in her mind. "Run, child of night." Selene clutched the feather, and she ran into the deepening shadows before the hungry light could find her. Selene ran until the world blurred into streaks of black and silver. The feather pulsed in her hand like a living heartbeat, faint, steady, urging her deeper, deeper into the forgotten forest. Branches whipped past her, but none touched her. The shadows themselves bent aside as if recognizing her. Child of the last night, the keeper's warning echoed behind her ribs. A sharp heat burst across Selene's back, not touching her, but lighting the trees several paces behind. A beam of golden radiance lanced down from the heavens, searing a smoking circle into the earth. He was close. Solmar was searching. Another beam split the sky, closer this time. The forest shook from the impact. Selene stumbled, catching herself against the trunk of a twisted ash. Her lungs tightened, panic clawed at her throat. But then the feather cooled in her palm, calming her breath, as if whispering, "You are not alone." Slowly, the trees around her began to change. Their trunks darkened into obsidian streaked with silver veins. Their leaves shimmered faintly, as though stitched with dim stars. This part of the forest was not dying. It was remembering the night it once belonged to. Selene walked forward. Her footsteps grew quieter, her pulse steadier, until, suddenly, the world opened into a clearing. A wide circle of untouched earth, a sky glimmering faintly as if someone had drawn ghost constellations with charcoal and frost. And in the center, a smooth black stone, half buried and glowing from within, like a heartbeat trapped in obsidian. Selene approached slowly. The moment she touched the stone, the air shifted, as though the forest had inhaled sharply. Black mist rose around her, spiraling upward, and from that mist, a voice, so soft, so familiar, drifted through. "Selene." Her eyes widened. She knew that voice. She had heard it in dreams she could never remember clearly upon waking. Soft, melancholic, made of wind and memory. "Do not fear," the voice murmured, echoing like a lullaby through the clearing. "You stand upon the threshold of my realm." The mist thickened, shimmering faintly with star specks. A feminine silhouette formed, tall, graceful, winged, woven entirely from darkness that glowed like moonlit velvet. Selene's throat tightened. It was her, Nyx, the goddess of night, but she looked faint, flickering, as though half of her was missing. When Nyx spoke, the trees bowed. "You carry my last spark," she said gently, "and with it the world's only hope to restore balance before all is devoured by hungry light." Selene swallowed. "I don't understand what I'm supposed to do." Nyx stepped closer, her shadow wings folding softly around the clearing. "You will. But first, Selene, you must know the truth." The clearing dimmed, the air tightened, and Nyx began to tell the secret that had been buried since the last night disappeared. Selene listened as the world around her shifted, darkening into memory. A memory that would change everything. The world around Selene shivered and then fell away. The clearing dissolved into drifting shadows, dancing around her like ink suspended in water. Nyx stood at the center, her form glowing softly, her voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "This is not a story," Nyx whispered. "It is a memory." The shadows swirled and became a sky. A vast sky of deep indigo, alive with stars like shattered diamonds scattered across velvet. The true night. Selene gasped. It was beautiful, so much more than the faint dusk she'd grown up with. This sky pulsed with life, a rhythm so ancient she felt it in her bones. Then the stars flickered, dimmed, as though someone were smothering them one by one. Selene's breath caught. "What's happening?" Nyx's voice trembled with something that might once have been anger or sorrow, or both. The sun lost its balance. The sky brightened, not with warm light, but with blinding gold. A colossal fiery figure stepped forward, Solmar. Radiant, resplendent, but his glow was wrong, too sharp, too hungry. "The sun was never meant to stand alone," Nyx said gently. "Without my night to temper his brilliance, Solmar began to lose himself." In the vision, Solmar raised his arms, and the stars cracked like glass. Nyx's form flickered. He feared the darkness, feared obscurity, feared losing the worship that warmed him. The memory shifted again, now showing two figures standing on opposite horizons, back to back. The sun, the night, both necessary, both equal, balanced. Until Solmar turned, his fire spread across the sky, the constellations dimmed, Nyxe staggered, shadows peeling from her wings. Selene felt it in her chest, a sharp, impossible ache. Did he try to destroy you?" Nyx closed her eyes. "Not destroy, replace." A long silence fell. The stars in the vision vanished. The world dimmed to a permanent dusk. The last true night faded until only the faint memory of darkness remained. "I fought him," Nyx whispered, "but the world was not ready. Humanity had forgotten to love the dark."
Selene's heart pounded. She had always felt different, always felt the dusk calling her, softly, gently, in ways sunlight never could. And now she understood why. Nyx stepped closer. Her shadow hand touched Selene's cheek, cold but comforting. When I fell, I scattered 7 fragments of my power into the world, 7 pieces of my heart. The feather in Selene's hand pulsed, glowing brighter. Nyx's voice lowered to a whisper. You carry the first. Selene stared at the feather, her pulse matching its quiet rhythm. Why me? Nyx's form flickered again, as though her strength was thinning. Because you were born during the last breath of night, because the dusk itself chose you, because you, Selene, are the only one whose soul still remembers the dark. The memory shattered. Selene stumbled back into the clearing, panting as though she had been running. The obsidian stone beneath her feet throbbed with light. Nyx's form faded in the rising mist, her wings dissolving into swirling smoke. You must find the other 6 fragments, she said, before Solmar burns the world clean of shadow. Selene's voice cracked. Where do I start? Nyx leaned close, her whisper brushing Selene's ear, like the soft breath of midnight wind. Begin with the place where the night was lost first, the drowned temple of the first star. And just like that, Nyx vanished. The clearing fell silent. The feather burned brighter in Selene's hand, pointing, pulsing, guiding. The journey had changed. The purpose was clear. Selene was no longer running from Solmar. She was running towards the fragments of a fallen goddess, towards the return of true night, toward whatever destiny the dusk had chosen for her.
Selene did not sleep that night. The vision of the first star's light sinking into black water replayed in her mind like a warning or a promise. Dawn had barely touched the mountaintops when she wrapped her cloak, secured her blade, and began the long descent toward the forbidden coast, where the drowned sky waited. The shore was unlike any Selene had seen before. Here, the sea was unnaturally still, mirroring the clouds above with a glassy sharpness that made the horizon look like a cracked mirror. Strange runes shimmered faintly along the rocks. Old magic, older than any kingdom, older even than the Celestials. As she approached the tide line, a whisper rose from the water. You carry the star's mark. Will you claim what was lost, or drown as the others did? Selene forced her fear down. I've come for the first star's temple. Show me the path. Instead of answering, the ocean split. A narrow walkway of light formed beneath her feet, an impossible bridge descending into the depths. Selene inhaled sharply. The water parted around her, forming walls of swirling blue, where fish glimmered like drifting sparks. Step by step, the ocean swallowed her from above, sealing behind her as she walked deeper. At last she reached a massive stone gate, half consumed by coral and crystal. Carvings of fallen stars covered its surface. In the center was a depression shaped like a hand. Hers. Heart racing, Selene pressed her palm into it. The gate trembled, ancient gears groaned, and with a shudder that shook the seabed, the doors opened. Inside, the temple stretched like a forgotten world. Pillars of moonstone arched overhead. Pools of condensed starlight rippled along the floor, and at the far end, floating above a pedestal, burned a faint ember of pure celestial fire, the first star's heart. Selene stepped forward, awe tightening her throat. But the moment her fingers neared the ember, a shadow detached itself from the wall. A figure, tall, cloaked, features hidden, emerged with footsteps that made no sound. You seek what does not belong to mortals. Turn back while you still have breath. Selene held her ground. I've carried the star's mark. This power calls to me. It calls to many, most never return. The ground trembled, water dripped from the ceiling as the temple groaned under pressure. Something ancient had awakened. Selene lifted her blade. I am not like the others. The shadow stilled, then slowly raised its head. That, it whispered, is what I fear. The heart of the first star blazed, reacting to her presence. Light spiraled outward, wrapping Selene in a halo of silver. The shadow stepped back in alarm. The temple shook again, this time not from collapse, but from awakening. Whatever test waited next had begun.
The silver light pouring from the star's heart wrapped Selene like living fire. Her pulse throbbed in her ears. The temple trembled, walls humming with ancient power, power older than kingdoms, older than the world itself. The shadowed figure stepped back, its cloak rippling as if caught in a wind that did not exist. You should not have awakened it, the figure warned. The guardian answers only to the first star's will, and it has chosen to test you. Before Selene could respond, the chamber darkened, the starlit pools dimmed, the air thickened with a cold that cut through bone. From behind the pedestal, an enormous shape unfurled. At first, it looked like darkness itself rising, but then it took form, a colossal being forged of celestial stone and liquid night, its body etched with constellations that pulsed like a heartbeat. Eyes of burning white light locked onto Selene. The Guardian. Its voice rumbled like an earthquake beneath the ocean. Who seeks the heart? Selene swallowed, her hands trembling, but she did not back away. I do, Selene of the Dawn Line. You are mortal, the Guardian thundered, each syllable shaking the pillars. Mortal hands cannot wield starfire without consequence. Selene steadied her breath. This power was hidden to protect the world. I intend to save it. The Guardian tilted its massive head, considering her words. You speak of salvation, but I sense a shadow in your destiny. Selene flinched. For a moment she saw a vision, a flash of something dark, something consuming, a silhouette that looked like her, but twisted, crowned in falling stars. She forced the image away. I choose my own path. The Guardian raised one vast arm, and the constellation lines along its stone skin glowed brighter. Then prove it. In an instant, the ground split beneath Selene's feet. Starlight erupted from the cracks, forming a ring around her, an arena of shimmering energy. The shadowed figure retreated into the darkness. Selene drew her blade, breath sharp, heart pounding. The guardian lowered its spear, starlight condensed above its palm, forming a massive spear of pure celestial energy. The temple roared with power. And then the guardian lunged. The spear came down like a falling meteor. Selene rolled aside, feeling the shockwave slam into her, shattering stone where she had stood moments before. She sprang to her feet, charging forward, slashing at the guardian's ankle. Her blade struck, but the celestial armor barely cracked, glowing faintly where her steel met divine stone. The guardian swung his arm again, and a surge of starfire exploded outward. Selene raised her blade, bracing for impact, but instead of burning her, the starlight curved around her, spiraling into the mark on her palm. The guardian paused. "It accepts you," it murmured, surprised. "It has been ages since the heart chose a mortal." Selene looked at her glowing hand, shock mixing with fear. The guardian lowered its spear, its voice softened, resonant and deep. "Your trial is not of strength, but of truth. You must face the one thing mortals fear most." A mirror of water rose from the ground, swirling with darkness. Shapes formed inside it, shadows, memories, echoes of choices yet to come. Selene felt her blood run cold. In the reflection she saw herself, but corrupted, crowned in starfire, eyes void of mercy. A conqueror, a destroyer. The guardian spoke. "Face your shadow, Selene. Only then can you claim the heart." The shadow self stepped out of the mirror, smiling with cold cruelty. "Shall we begin?" The chamber flared with blinding celestial fire as the two Selenes collided.
The temple shuddered as the two Selenes met, light against darkness, destiny against fear. Selene staggered back from the first clash. Her shadow self moved like liquid night, faster, heavier, every strike fueled by a twisted reflection of her own doubts. Shadow Selene's voice was smooth, venom soft. "You pretend to be brave, but I am what you fear becoming." She lunged, blade of stardark metal slicing past Selene's cheek, leaving a trail of cold fire. Selene blocked, sparks of golden starlight bursting from her blade. "I'm nothing like you." "Not yet." Those two words sliced deeper than the blade. The guardian watched from above, statuesque and silent. This final test was one Selene had to face alone. Shadow Selene lifted her free hand, and visions flared around them, floating shards of memory and possibility. Selene saw herself crowned with starfire, kingdoms kneeling in fear, oceans boiling under her command, the first star's heart burning the world instead of healing it. "No," Selene whispered. "Yes." Shadow Selene stepped closer, eyes glowing like dying suns. "This is the path you carve if you let power fill the void where your fear lives." Selene's knees weakened. Was that true? Was this who she would become? Then, quiet as dawn, another sound rose. Not Shadow Selene's, not the Guardian's. Her own. "You choose your path." The words she'd spoken earlier echoed in her mind. Selene's breath steadied. She lifted her blade. "Enough." Shadow Selene smirked. "Then prove it." They clashed again. This time, Selene did not retreat. Every strike she made glowed brighter, the gold of hope, courage, and choice. Every strike Shadow Selene made hissed with the cold blue of doubt, fear, and fate. Their blades locked. Shadow Selene's face twisted, cracks of light forming across her darkened skin. "You cannot kill me," she snarled. "I am you." Selene leaned closer, voice steady and warm. "Then I don't have to kill you." Shadow Selene froze. Selene lowered her blade. Instead of striking, she placed her glowing hand on the Shadow's chest. "I accept you," Selene whispered. "My fear, my flaws, my darkness, they're all part of me, but they do not rule me." A shockwave of golden starlight burst outward. Shadow Selene let out a breath, relieved, almost human, before dissolving into sparks of light that spiraled into Selene's chest, merging with her. For the first time, Selene felt whole. The Guardian's acknowledgement. Silence fell. The Guardian stepped forward, eyes glowing brighter now. Less stern, almost proud. "You have passed the final trial," it said. "To accept one's shadow is to master one's destiny." The pedestal responded to Selene's presence. The first star's heart rose toward her with gentle, radiant brilliance. Selene extended her hand. The heart settled in her palm, warm, alive, like holding a newborn star. "You are now its keeper," the Guardian declared, "and its power answers to your truth, not your fear." The temple walls glowed with reborn starlight. Selene looked at the heart, a tiny sphere of swirling gold and silver. She felt its warmth spread through her chest, its endless potential humming through her bones. She wasn't a chosen one. She wasn't a destined conqueror. She was simply Selene, and she had chosen who she would be. The Guardian bowed deeply. "Go, star-bearer. The world waits." Selene turned, stepping into the ascending light of the temple entrance. Her journey was far from over, and for the first time, she walked forward without fear.